There was once a day that I would pray for you. I'd go and misbehave just so you'd notice too. Sneaking looks up and down from across the room. Damn, what a hell of a view. I feel good, you look great, I like you, I can't wait. A first time, a first date, you're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight, don't waste time to my place. I feel my heart erase, so catch me if I fall. Praying that this night's gonna last. You got it all on tap, I'm loving your vibe, always have your back. We like all the same tracks, listen all night in the sheets all black. Said I'm falling fast, don't remember life before you, that's fact. I feel good, you look great, I like you, I can't wait. A first time, a first date, you're so fine, I'm so late. You sip wine, I drink straight, don't waste time to my place. I feel my heart erase, so catch me if I fall. There was once a day that I would pray for you. I'd go and misbehave just so you'd notice too. Sneaking looks up and down from across the room. Damn, what a hell of a view. I feel good, you look great, I like you, I can't wait.
Hello everyone and welcome to our Hello and welcome, my name is Reese and today I'm going to be speaking to you about one of our channel partners, BITDEFENDER. Forever Motorsports is proudly supported by BITDEFENDER, one of the global leaders in cybersecurity. Stay safe with the most consistently top-rated antivirus of the last 10 years and counting. To protect yourself from cyber attacks, protect your browsing and personal information, and so much more, get BITDEFENDER. With BITDEFENDER's premium VPN, digital privacy and freedom is as easy as flicking on a light switch. Bank, stream, and download without exposing a single byte of personal information. Unblock your favorite streaming sites and get access to content that you want to watch on up to 10 devices today. Effective, invisible, and amazingly affordable. Use the link in the description to get started.
Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports for an interesting update ahead of the Canadian Grand Prix this weekend. After a bit of a break, the Formula 1 season is back after Monaco, and what a race weekend it was in terms of the dream race for Charles Leclerc, who finally won his home Grand Prix. But maybe worryingly for the sport, the first time in history that I think was 1 to 10 or 1 to 12 or whatever it was, finished in exactly the way that the grid lined up. So, no overtaking in that sort of top 10, and not really what we want to see from the Grand Prix. We want to see racing, we want to see change of position, stuff like that. So it's definitely a Formula 1 race which begged a lot of questions. But what was a very key part of the race was the incident which saw Esteban Ocon crash into his Alpine teammate, Pierre Gasly. And we heard the news on Monday that Esteban Ocon has officially lost his seat for next season. His contract will not be renewed and he will be leaving Alpine at the end of the season. The question the reason I'm asking is, will he finish the season in his seat? Well, maybe not. And before we get into the news, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Right, so the news is that Alpine have officially confirmed that 21-year-old Jack Doohan, who is the Australian reserve driver for Alpine, will be at the wheel during the first practice session of the Canadian Grand Prix on Friday. He will replace Esteban Ocon in the opening session. It's going to be the fourth time he's actually going to be driving in a Formula 1 car. He made his first appearance back in practice in 2022 and had a further 2 appearances last year in Mexico and Abu Dhabi. So he's going to get an opportunity to drive in the first practice. At this stage, Esteban Ocon is still set to race on Sunday in the Alpine. He did put a statement out on social media talking about, the racing and how, he accepts his, that racing has incidents, for example, and that, this is kind of what the situation was. He's looking forward to finishing the season, and more importantly, basically said that he will be in the driver's cockpit come Sunday, and he will be racing the Canadian Grand Prix. But it has officially been confirmed that he will not be making a return to Alpine next season, which begs the question, will Alpine look to give Jack Doohan opportunities during the season? So more so than just the free practice. In terms of his history, the 21-year-old rather, finished the F2 season last season in 3rd place in the Drivers' Championship. Had a very good end to the season. So we had a very strong season there, and he's been the official Alpine reserve driver for the season, although hasn't yet had a session in the car. Alpine quite a sort of a very well organized team, if nothing else, and he would be the obvious replacement moving forward unless they were to try and draw somebody from one of the other teams. Now the question is what do they do moving forward? You know that Esteban Ocon's not coming back next season. You've now got a young driver who has done well in F2, who is your official reserve driver, and would make sense for him and he could finish the rest of the season. They could bench Ocon and go with Doohan for the rest of the season. And see what he can do, because he's not got a seat for next season, does Doohan, and that, whether he gets one remains to be seen, but from an Alpine sort of perspective, it would make a lot of sense to basically say, okay, well, Ocon's not coming back next season, we've got this guy, is he worth looking at him for next season? Is he worth the seat? And I think that free practice on Friday will very much be an audition, really. He will be able to go out and see what you can do. And if he can extract, similar pace from his car that, Pierre Gasly can, for example, if he could start to demonstrate that he can, potentially be quicker than Ocon, then I don't think his time in a Formula One car this season will be limited to just one free practice on Friday. I think that he will be given a few more opportunities, maybe not even necessarily in a race, but a couple more free practices, maybe a qualifying session even. And to be perfectly honest, I mean, if he starts to do well these free practices, I don't see why you wouldn't give him a race and see what he can do, because the grid is starting to fill up a little bit, but still quite a lot of spots open. And with the news that Checo Perez is going to sign a new contract, for example, that's massive news. For 2 years, for example, they put a lot of sort of doubt on away for what's going to happen with the Red Bull. So there are not many spots left on the grid. So lots of drivers will be, negotiating right now, looking for some potential seats and stuff like that. And if Alpine are not going to go with Jack Doohan, then they probably need to look at that fairly quickly. But if they are considering him, even in the slightest, give him time in the car. That's the only thing you can do. You've cut ties with Esteban Ocon, and whilst you've got a contract, you're paying a lot of money, you back him to be able to, in theory, outperform. You do back him as the better driver. It would make sense to start giving more time to Jack Doohan in the car and seeing what he can do. So, what do you think is going to happen? Do we think that they're going to throw the dice and give him a go? Do you think that this will just be a couple of free practices, or what do you think is going to happen? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Please do smash like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Hello and welcome to Forever Motorsports for some huge news. The FIA have officially released unveiled the regulations for 2026 and beyond, which features more agile cars and active aerodynamics. In their words, not mine. Expect the cars to get smaller, faster, more overtaking, more sustainable. That is the plan with the new regulations, which will come into effect in 2026. So one more year before we really see these come into effect, but expect to see a very significant shift in how we know Formula One, and hopefully we'll solve a lot of the issues we're seeing in Formula One, especially with regards to the lack of competitiveness and the lack of overtaking we've seen in the last couple of races. For example, Monaco, where basically the grid almost finished exactly how it started. Before we get into exactly what the regulations are and what the changes are, please do smash like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Right, so we knew that the power units were obviously going to change. That was released a couple of years ago, but the F1 Formula One governing body, FIA, has officially unveiled the more regulations and sort of the full regulation of what's going to change. It still needs to be ratified and voted on by the World Motorsport Council, which will take place on 28th of June, but you can't expect it to go through. The basic summary is as follows. More agile cars, and they're going to be made lighter by 50 kgs. And they're going to be feature a redesigned power unit, which is going to increase the battery power. And there's going to be an even split between internal combustion engine and the electric power, and 100% use of sustainable fuels. A very important thing, when you think about how maybe, environmentally unfriendly Formula One is with regards to fossil fuels, the travel, for example. And they've had a very big shift to try and make it as sustainable as possible so we can continue to enjoy the sport whilst it doesn't wreck the environment. And clear to them, they put their hands up and they very much acknowledge that they have to adapt and they have to change things. And they are taking steps forward. Another very cool idea is active aerodynamics, which will incorporate a movable front and rear wing, which will allow for closer racing, apparently. They're going to be looking at increased overtaking opportunities through the introduction of a new similar sort of thing to a DRS, a system which will give the driver a short burst of additional power if they are within 1 second of the car in front of them. Also, very importantly, with these changes, that they are making more robust rules with regards to safety, and then with the sort of the sustainable issues over there. So basically, the FIA single-seat technical director, Nicholas Tombazis, has said as follows with regards to the regulations. He says, with this set of regulations, the FIA has sought to develop a new generation of cars that are fully in touch with the DNA of Formula One. Cars that are light, supremely fast and agile, but which also remains at the cutting edge of technology. And to achieve this, we have worked towards what we call a nimble car concept. So looking for a car which is a bit smaller and a bit more nimble in and around the track to provide more opportunities to overtake and the likes. In terms of the FIA president, Mohammed Ben Sulayman, saying today the FIA is defining a hugely exciting future for the pinnacle of motorsport with the launch of a new set of regulations for the 2026 FIA Formula One Championship and beyond. Let's go through some of the various changes, shall we? So in terms of the power units, obviously it's set to deliver more power. The hybrid unit has dropped from 550 to 560 kilowatts to 400 kilowatts. However, the battery, there'll be less from the sort of the combustion, but far more from the battery itself. So the amount of energy that can be recuperated during the braking phase is doubled per lap. The new regulations has also led to commitments from existing suppliers, so a record 6 companies which will be doing power units. It'll include Ferrari, Mercedes, and Renault. And it's also enticed apparently Honda to return, and then obviously Audi and Ford will also be doing power units through a partnership with the Red Bull powertrain. So in terms of the actual car design, cars are going to be lighter and smaller. So with regards to the weight, there's going to be 30 kgs shed potentially. 2026 cars are going to have a minimum weight of 768 kgs. Compared to the 798 kgs, which is where it is currently and has been the case since 2022. In terms of the wheelbase, it has been reduced by 200 millimeters to 3,400 millimeters, while the width has been cut from 100 millimeters, but cut by 100 millimeters to 1900. So they have reduced the both the width and the sort of the length of the wheelbase itself. Apparently, they say that the downforce as a result has been reduced by 30% and drag has been reduced by 55%. The 18-inch wheel size will remain, but the width of the tires will be reduced by 25 mils and the rears by 30 mils. Compared to the current generation of cars. In terms of the other sort of the aerodynamic innovations, this is where it obviously gets quite interesting. So it says that the FIA says the 2026 cars will be switchable between 2 configurations. One that will minimize fuel consumption, and the other one which will maximize corner performance. The active aerodynamics will involve a movable rear wing and a movable front wing, so to try and sort of get the best as we go. So you can kind of have different configurations depending on where you are on the track and stuff like that. The idea is that this will enable more greater cornering speeds and more sort of straight line speed as well. So you don't have to necessarily like, okay, cool, this track's got a lot of different corners and a very tough cornering track, therefore we need to sort of set that up the car like that. You can basically, your car will be able to do both. You'll be able to corner quickly as well as get that straight line speed. You don't have to compromise one for the other. The idea is also you're going to get that 1 second. Well, if you're within 1 second of a car, you will get a sort of a boost from the power unit itself. Apparently, that's going to be similar to sort of the DRS idea. There'll be specific zones where that will potentially kick in. To once again, there is another overtaking aid that has been added to the regulations. And then just very quickly, they've talked about the push for greater safety. So they've introduced a 2-stage nose design, which is basically to stop things flying off. And they've also done a look at the protection around the driver and the fuel cell area, and basically just making the cars a bit safer. And then finally, the big thing is over there is that it says the Formula One power units are already the most efficient in the world. The F1 and FIA's pursuit of reaching net zero carbon by 2030. The 2026 power units will run on fully sustainable fuels. So no more fossil fuels, basically, is the plan. More electric power, basically. So it'll be a shift towards 50% electric and 50% thermal power distribution. That's a lot to get through. That's a lot to try and comprehend. We'll have to wait and see what this looks like. But basically, the summary is cars that can adapt to corners and straights. So you're not gonna you don't just screw your front wing in, adjust and say right, that's the position. They will be able to sort of change. Basically, they're going to be active base. The car's going to be slightly smaller. The wheels are going to be slightly smaller. The car's going to be lighter, and they're going to be set up more for more opportunities to overtake. So the idea is to get back to racing. I think that's the biggest takeaway, is that they are trying to get these cars back to being, wheel-to-wheel racing, competitive, trying reducing the massive difference we're seeing from, a Kick Sauber and a Red Bull, the likes of that. To try and, all these regulations come in to try and sort of make it more competitive. We want to basically see a field where, there can potentially be 10 winners on the day. And not just, 3-4 cars who are really going to contend. Let me know if you think it's going to make any difference. Which of these regulations excites you? Let me know down in the comments below. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve, and I'll chat to you soon.
Hello everyone and welcome to Forever Sports. As one of the leading channels in the world providing free coverage of all of your favourite sports, we are asking for your support. Everything that we create at Forever Sports is available for free and always will be. To help us continue delivering high quality content, as well as expanding our coverage, we are asking you to consider supporting the channel by becoming a channel member. As part of the Forever Sports Members Club, you will gain access to select perks, such as exclusive stickers and emojis to use during our watch-alongs and live streams. You will also gain early access to premium content, as well as have your name listed on the channel under channel members. We strive to deliver quality content that is unmatched by other channels, and are always looking to take things up another level. And our members give us the chance to do this. It is thanks to our members and other support that we get from our fans that we are able to deliver campaigns such as the France 2023 on the ground coverage. So if you would like to continue supporting the channel and the free coverage that it provides, be sure to check the link in the description to become a channel member now. Hello everyone and welcome to
Forever Motorsports. My name is Mark and you're joining me here for FP1 in Canada. We are in Canada, of course, for the Canadian Grand Prix, which is home to Lance Stroll. Aston Martin will see this as a home race because obviously Lawrence Stroll is the owner of it. So lots of Aston Martin fans will be out here in their forces. However, I don't think they'll really do much this weekend. Aston Martin have been quite disappointing much of the season, so I'm not sure we'll see too much from them. But of course, we've got a very, very big battle heating up at the top of the grid, though, between Red Bull, McLaren, and Ferrari. Ferrari seemingly, according to Leclerc, on the up and up, and putting more upgrades in than any other car, and at least making more of a push forward and more of an improvement than any other car at the moment on the grid, they reckon, according to Charles Leclerc at least, which means Ferrari is firmly in that fight as well. So for the first time in a good while in Formula One, we've got three teams really fighting it out for the Constructors' Championship, because it's not a given that Max Verstappen is going to win each race now. Not a chance. We saw Charles Leclerc, of course, win in Monaco. We saw Lando Norris get his first ever win in Formula One already. And Max Verstappen struggling a little bit now with this Red Bull for the remainder of the season. So it should be heating up and spicing up a lot more, and everybody's going to really enjoy it's really going to enjoy the points haul for the rest of the season and see who's going to come out on top in both the Drivers' Championship as well as the Constructors' Championship. So interesting times ahead. What I will say is not interesting, though, is that Canada is currently a wet track, and when we say a wet track, it is very much not just a wet track so much as it's basically a full dam. It's just had a huge hailstorm here in Canada, in Montreal, and there are still massive puddles all over the track. There are just spots of no real drainage at all across the track. So it's a brand new surface, supposedly, on the track. So, you know, everyone's going on about how the brand new surface is going to hold up and the fact that it's going to be less grippy than most, etc., etc. But the sad part is that you've got FP1 that's supposed to be taking part now, and this is sad for me as well as you, but I'm fairly certain we're not going to get any running out on track because it's wet right now. Whilst it's not raining, it's still very wet out on the track, but they're basically saying that we're in a lull period before the next big storm hits, and if it was anything like the first storm that hit right now, we're definitely not going to have any cars out on track. They would red flag the race if it were even under those conditions. They wouldn't let them drive because it was hailing hectically, huge hailstones all over the track in Montreal. But of course, we are about 5 minutes away from the start of FP1. That hour marker will start to click down or to tick down. And I'm not sure we'll see many drivers make their way out of the track, but at least we can get talking, of course, in the comment section. So whilst you guys are there and you're joining me here for FP1 here in Canada, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and like the video. Of course, we're here for Formula One AWS Grand Prix de Canada. It is round, I cannot actually remember now, I think 9, I want to say 9. Is it round 9? Yes, round 9. Hey, look at me. Round 9, Montreal in Canada. And it is in June. It is now the middle of the year. It's freezing in the southern hemisphere and apparently quite cold up there in Montreal because, well, it's raining. Looking at the track and some stats for the track itself. Track distance 4.3 kilometers, a little bit longer than the average. Full throttle spent at 65%. The track record is a 1 minute 10. It's a very, very fast track. Top speed spent at 349 kilometers an hour, almost 350. There are 14 turns and only an elevation of 5, of course, because it is in the bay. It is right built on an island just in the bay here. Looking at the tyre compounds available for this weekend, we have to mention the wet and the intermediate, because apparently there will be lots of wet weather this weekend. But the C5, the C4, and the C3 tyres are available. The C5 being the softest, the C4 being the medium, and the C3 being the hard tire. The clouds are all around us. We can see rain, a lot of rain in the distance there. It's not currently over the track, but we imagine that it will be heading over the track in the next 10 to 15 minutes, which will then disrupt our session. As I mentioned earlier as well, it's a brand new surface on the track here in Canada this season, which means that the drivers will be skidding around a little bit more than they usually do, and with the rain and otherwise weather associated with it, it's going to make it even more interesting, as some of the commentators have said. And the track has undergone some significant upgrades to curbs and runoffs to try and improve race flow and otherwise, especially the last section where a lot of people used to cut it. They have now put grass instead of just the usual off the track tar, which means that we're going to have a situation where it's actually going to be slower for you to go off there, so people won't try to cut the corner so badly. They'll head onto the grass section a little bit more, which slows down the car significantly. So we should hopefully have a cut in those runoffs, and people will try not to go off there. It will significantly change the race dynamics a little bit, as well as the qualifying dynamics as well. As Pureblood joins in the comments, let's go F1 family. Indeed, let's go, and drop a comment down below if you guys are joining me. If you're a regular, of course, let me know, and where you're tuning in from if you guys are new as well, and what your thoughts are going into this weekend, and also what your thoughts were of the previous Grand Prix in Monaco, of course, the Monegasque Charles Leclerc finally winning in his hometown, and obviously drawing a lot of tears and everybody's reactions to that. Everybody is super happy for him. But I think on top of everything else is the fact that Ferrari performed really, really well that weekend, which means that we are assuming that they should push on to really do well this weekend as well. Race control, as just noted, session will start on time. The pit exit, however, will remain closed. So it will be a starting on time session. So we will start to count down from 1 hour in about 2 minutes time, but we will not open the pit lane, which means the cars cannot make their way out of track. It's not safe to do so as of yet. They will not open the track yet. So we're not going to have any movement, as we see Sergio Perez having a good chat with his engineers there. And it's a good thing that we go to Sergio Perez, of course, because the big news there is the fact that Sergio Perez has, in fact, signed a 2-year extension on his contract at Red Bull, and has said as well to the media that he intends on retiring and finishing Formula One at the Red Bull outfit. And it's big news, of course, because everybody was worried about or wondering whether or not Sergio Perez would actually be in that seat for next season, or whether Red Bull would make the cut and get some new blood into that team there to go alongside Max Verstappen going into the future. But they've decided not to do so. They're sticking with Sergio Perez for the next 2 years at least. So 2025 and 2026. 2026 being the season that we introduced the new car setup, which has also been announced this season. So that'll be an interesting one. But the most disappointing person that will be here in the pit lane is Jack Doohan, of course, who's been given the go-ahead in that Alpine garage, taking Ocon's seat, and we'll also get into that, all the news around Ocon as well. He'll be heading into Ocon's seat for this session. However, given the fact that it's wet and raining and the pit exit's not even open and everything like that, he's going to be very upset about this, because this is his first time going into the F1 car. He's not going to be able to go around and do anything. So very disappointing for him. But we'll get on all into the news as we go, because we're not going to have any track information to talk about as we start the session. Well, I think the session has just started, and again, we have now started counting down from 1 hour down to 0, yellow flag in all sectors, and the pit exit is closed. Max Verstappen having conversations as well with his engineers in his jacket, certainly not getting ready to race anytime soon, as is the case for everybody, as they are going around with all these vehicles around the track, trying to basically suck up the water in all these puddle sections. The drainage is terrible around this track, I will say that much. I mean, how can you have such a massive dam and pond basically on the track there? It's quite incredible. Going to the comments here, Pureblood saying McLaren are going to crush here, rain or shine. Indeed, I think McLaren are certainly an outfit to look at, as are Ferrari and of course Red Bull. It's going to be very interesting to see how these three teams go into this weekend, because I think it's going to be the most even Grand Prix of the weekend, and I think it will be the most interesting Grand Prix weekend we've had in, I don't even think this season so much as years. I think this Grand Prix, touch wood, could be one of the greatest Grand Prix we've seen in recent history. It really is all heading towards those sort of things. We've got three constructors who are all of them heading into this with some serious form behind their backs, and with some points to prove, I think, for a lot of people as well, on those various things there. Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri, of course, heading into this with quite some good form. Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz in those Ferraris, as well as Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez in those Red Bulls. There's lots of potential movement around the top 6 there. And the Mercedes also reckon that they've brought enough upgrades to Canada to start looking at podium places, says Lewis Hamilton. So we've got the dark horse of the four. And who knew we'd be talking about Mercedes as a dark horse 3-4 years ago? But now we do say that, they're certainly the fourth only strongest team out of the grid, nowhere near McLaren, Ferrari, and Red Bull, supposedly. But Lewis Hamilton reckons they've got us hanging on the edge of our seats, waiting for a Mercedes podium potentially this weekend. So we've got all of this heading into this weekend, all this belief of real strong chances, that it certainly edges up towards what could be an incredible Grand Prix. Go to the comments before we go into some news, of course. Stefan's joining us saying, how's it? Yanni JM is here. I'm in Toronto, but I was born and raised in Montreal. This F1 track belongs to me, and I've shared its secrets with Max. Clearly a Max fan, and having been from Montreal, giving him all the secrets of the track. However, I don't think Max Verstappen necessarily needs it. The man is quite incredible. Stefan saying, is it cold in Johannesburg? It is freezing. I will say I've got a blanket on. Yes, I know. You can judge me all you want, but I do have a blanket on as I'm giving this because it is very cold. This is going to be so interesting, says Bob Lindiwe, saying, hello everyone, welcome to you. And James says, freezing in Joburg, as he says, really looking forward to this Grand Prix. Keen to see if Mercedes have made some improvements too. And as I alluded to, Lewis Hamilton's also said that he reckons that they'll be getting onto a podium, if not this weekend, very soon with the upgrades they've bought. So very keen to see what they can do at the Mercedes garage. Stefan's also saying me too, and Ferrari. Indeed, Ferrari also bringing a few upgrades this weekend, and they reckon they'll really help them significantly. Bob saying, if any one team, Red Bull, wins this season, it's interesting. Well, again, I think this weekend it's all up in the air as to who could win. I actually genuinely go to this weekend not knowing who's going to win. So that's really cool to see. Lance Stroll, the home driver here for Aston Martin, on the other hand, is inside his car. I think there's deliberate reasons for that, as more of a marketing exercise. Of course, it's home race, the crowd is there. Lance, welcome home. As you see, all the Aston Martin fans in the crowd, lots of support for their home driver and their local boy, Lance Stroll. I imagine we'll see him go around basically not to do any sort of data grabbing, because they're not going to get any data from this sort of conditions. But I imagine the moment the pit exit opens, he'll probably get out into the track to basically just go around for all the fans that have made their way out here. And there are a lot of the fans that have made their way out here. So great to see for them. Disappointing, though, for the weather that has taken its place here. We've got a few drivers, though, inside their cars. Logan Sargent also in his car in the Williams garage. His position and his seat is very much up in the air and very much being looked at as a potential replacement. Is due to be announced, supposedly, and Carlos Sainz. They reckon Carlos Sainz will be grabbing a Williams contract for next season. At least he's still in F1, but so disappointing for such an incredible driver to be in such a minnow team, essentially. But it does seem like Logan Sargent will be losing his seat next season to Carlos Sainz. So big news potentially being announced over this weekend about that as well. I imagine they'll wait until Monday so that we don't have any Logan Sargent interviews and otherwise concerning what his plans will be after the season. But I definitely think that's an interesting one, that Williams are going to go after Carlos Sainz. Brilliant driver, of course, but just so disappointing for Carlos Sainz, of course, to go to a team that doesn't really do anything for him. Is there a groundhog on the track? Bob, if I'm frank, if there was, it'd be drowned and it'd be dead, unfortunately for it. So hopefully there isn't one. They'll be hiding around trying to get cover from the severe weather that's hit there. James also saying, problem is, even if Max wins, Sergio is really starting to cost the team. With Ferrari, McLaren, and even Mercedes taking good points in the last couple of races, they are closing on the constructors' standings. It's exactly that. And that's what I was saying, is the fact that we do have a really close race because, or close constructor championship right now, because Piastri and Norris doing well for McLaren, Charles Leclerc and Sainz doing well for Ferrari. Verstappen's holding his end for Red Bull, but Sergio Perez is starting to drop off a little bit. So even though they did really well at the beginning of the season, because Sergio Perez is having a few terrible performances, it's allowed the other constructors to get right up there with them. Mercedes are a little bit further off the pack. However, again, they reckon they've bought some upgrades and they're starting to head in the right direction. Toto Wolff also thinking that he could get this team turned around and seems a little bit more confident than he has been in ages, as we do actually see him now on the screen, the team principal, and he's part owner, of course, of the AMG team here in Formula One. Pure Blood saying, Leclerc Sainz is such a good driver pairing. Ferrari are nuts to getting rid of him. I also fully agree. I personally said straight away at the time that is the worst decision ever to take on Hamilton at Ferrari. And I know that they're doing it as a marketing ploy and otherwise, but I think Leclerc and Sainz is a hell of a strong partnership that could have headed for the next 3 years, 4 years, that would have really pulled Ferrari forward. But now they're getting Lewis Hamilton in there. Of course, Lewis Hamilton brings other expertise that Carlos Sainz might not have, in the fact that, he'll talk about how to get the car going, and he'll give some opinions on that. But I do think it is a terrible decision from Ferrari to get Lewis Hamilton, who is essentially now being seen as a past it, and a driver that's lacked an ability to get onto the podium, let alone win a race in a couple of seasons now. Really struggle to do so. So one imagines, going into Ferrari, is he going to take that terrible form with him? Is it just the car that he's in right now not getting him up to speed? Will he be able to get into that Ferrari car and actually do what he needs to do? These are questions that are up in the air, whereas we know with Carlos Sainz what to get from him, and it's good results from Ferrari, of course. So disappointed to see him leave to go to such a small team, but nonetheless, that is going to happen. So we can only hope for the best for him. James is saying Groundhogs are probably having a bath right now. It's exactly that. Bob saying Sergio is turning into an intercontinental ballistic missile. Well, he's certainly getting himself into a lot of crashes and otherwise not being able to finish races as of recent times. So interesting that they did give him a contract amongst all of these incidents that he's had these past couple of months. Cora is joining us as well. Good evening, everybody. Good evening to you, Cora, as well. ICW says Pure Blood 100% agree, and I assume you agree with me as well then regarding that. Evening from TC. Great to see you here, TC, in the comments as well. Bob saying Ferrari really need to get a younger drivers. I don't think they'll have the potential with Lewis. If only Ferrari had reached that top level, this is like Messi going to Real Madrid. I mean, yes, I get your statement, but at the same point, it's like it's more like now Ronaldo going to Barcelona. It's the opposite way around, where Barcelona are no longer the team they used to be, or are trying to get back up to the sort of standards they had previously. They've been lacking. It's an interesting one. Personally, I think it's a bit of a pointless one, because he's not really going to. I don't think he's going to add that much to Ferrari. I think Ferrari are on the right track when every other means, until they get to their drivers, where it's like, why on earth did they let Sainz go? Because even before they announced that Hamilton was going to be coming into the team in place of Carlos Sainz, I mean, Carlos Sainz was outperforming Charles Leclerc. He was the better driver, and at times is the better driver. I think Charles Leclerc finally found his form again, of course, winning in Monaco. Hasn't won a race since 2021 until now. But I think, Carlos Sainz had every reason and every right to get upset about being replaced at Ferrari, because quite frankly, I think if I were a Ferrari fan, would prefer to see Carlos Sainz in that seat than Lewis Hamilton. Even though Lewis Hamilton's a 7-time world champion, I understand that, one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time. I understand all of that. But he hasn't won a race in multiple seasons now. He's really struggled in the cars, not enjoying life. You're taking a risk. You're taking a gamble. You know what you're getting for Carlos Sainz. He's won in that Ferrari car. He's done really well in that Ferrari car. He's reliable in that Ferrari car. He's exciting as well in that Ferrari car. He's an aggressive driver, does everything you want out of a Ferrari driver. So why axe him for something that you don't know what you're going to get? You don't actually know what you're going to get from Lewis Hamilton. So it's a really, really weird one. As it is with Red Bull, and we'd move on to Sergio Perez, of course. Again, we talk about him signing that 2-year contract extension until 2026, because he's costing the team a lot in points as well as in money, because he's crashing quite recently a lot. And we're about to see a huge change up in the grid for next season as the rain is coming back, ladies and gentlemen. Just to let you know, the rain is now entering the track again, and everybody in the crowd are getting their rain jackets on as well. So the rain is returning, so we'll continue this conversation. Sergio Perez taking on a 2-year extension for his contract is an odd one in the fact that there are so many new drivers about to enter the grid. We know in Mercedes they reckon that they're going to be backing, and I think it's Antonelli. He'll be backed in that Mercedes seat. So we're going to have a change up there. We're going to have a change up in Ferrari with Lewis Hamilton. We're going to have a change up at Williams. We reckon that Carlos Sainz will be going to Williams. We're going to have a change up as a result of that. So all these drivers across the grid are going to be moving around. So one imagines that surely we'll want to see other drivers in that Red Bull seat. But no, they've decided to pick Sergio Perez for the next 2 seasons, holding on to that combination for some reason. So lots of confidence in him. So I appreciate their backing of him. But is it the right call? It's yet to be seen. And quite frankly, I think that's up to interpretation anyway, because even if he does all right, one still argues, could there not have been, getting the next driver up speed? as the safety car has to avoid all of the marshals on track and all these stewards, the marshals on track and everything. Beautiful cars going around. Of course, it's Aston Martin this weekend. So the Aston Martin cars are out for the safety car as well as the medical car. So yeah, the comment section are talking about a whole lot with regards to the Ferrari decision with Hamilton and the other decisions. It's an interesting one. As Pureblood says, with Sainz and Leclerc, they will get around the same points by the end of the season, but have their own strengths. Be better at certain tracks. They don't clash. Leclerc and Hamilton will clash, in my opinion. Indeed, they will. They will think themselves both the main driver. As Carlos Sainz is quite happy to be somewhat the second to first driver. You know, he does have complaints every now and then, as every driver would, but he's quite happy to play the team game, which is always what you want in a team. You want your main driver to be focused on trying to win, which is Charles Leclerc, and your second driver happy to try and win as well, but if team orders come in, he'll do it, and that's Carlos Sainz. Whereas Hamilton, I don't think he'll do that. And who's going to be seen as the number one driver? Big questions regarding that as well. Sainz would have been ideal for Red Bull this TC season. That was also a thing that I talked about earlier in the season. I said, could Sainz go to Red Bull? And I think that could have been an interesting one. I think Red Bull should have taken that risk as well, because I think Sainz could do a lot more in that Red Bull car than Sergio Perez. A note to be made, though, green flag is now being given for the track. Green flag, track is clear, which means that the session will continue as it is, but it's green flag on the track, which means the medical car said it's safe enough for the cars to make their way out onto track. The rain is about to come in, though, so we might not see anybody make their way out onto track, but I think we will have a couple of parade laps, essentially, from some drivers just to go and wave at the crowd, basically. Pureblood also saying Perez must be making more profit in merchandise sales than the financial gain from winning the constructors. Lol. Enjoy that. Bob saying Lewis will have a lot of catching up to do. We'll have to get used to the car, maybe more downforce, maybe more drag. He needs at least half a season to get some stuff in for Ferrari. Indeed, that's the problem as well for a new driver. You have to get used to it quite quickly, and it does waste a little bit of time doing so. Julia Bond also saying, I think that Stroll perhaps won't be able to keep his seat. Of course, his dad owes the team, but his performance this season must have been so bad that I can't imagine Aston Martin will support him further. I would have agreed with you. However, in recent Grand Prix, he has actually outperformed Fernando Alonso. And because the car is not performing well, we don't actually notice the difference in drivers that we could have had. And I think for that very reason, Lance Stroll will keep his seat for next season. Because Lawrence Stroll, being his father, he's very much a competitor. He's very, very competitive. He wants to win. So if that means axing his son, he'll actually do it. He will do it. If there's somebody better that should be in that seat ahead of his son, the son's not performing, he would actually axe his son. I think he would be that person to do that. But given Aston Martin's situation right now, which is they're not competitive, they're not able to compete with that top 4, top 5 battle, they're really struggling at the moment. They're nowhere near those top teams. You don't notice them as much, which means that Lance Stroll's performances go under the radar. You don't really notice it. You don't take notice of whether or not he should be replaced or not. And recent Grand Prix, he's performed a little bit better than Fernando Alonso, who's really struggled recently. So with that being said, I don't think you will see Lance Stroll leaving that seat anytime soon, unless Aston Martin significantly improve towards the end of the season. That Lance Stroll's also doing terribly, and then Lance Stroll's got to make a decision. Bob here saying, I think you're wrong. In F1, you can just buy your way up, not saving your own correct. I too absolutely want that. I'm not going to be for FP2. It's 1 a.m. in the UAE. Well, I must say this much. It is a little bit of a later start for the average Formula 1 watcher. It's in the evening, this race, but at least it's not too late in the evening. Pretty much 3 o'clock in the morning. Like Japan and Australia, those are horrible races to try and do. I will also say, whilst I'm here, thank you so much to everybody at home and everybody watching and everybody who's part of the channel and the community, that we have now crossed 6,000 subscribers. Really do appreciate that. We really do love you all for that as well. So be sure to subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already, to continue to grow that subscriber basis, and to like this video right now as a little celebration of getting to that milestone. I really do appreciate it. And if you guys really do want to support us and love us lots, you guys can consider becoming a member of the channel. And if you do become a member of the channel, you get little perks that you get as well, and we'll always read out your comment, etc. And it's also just another way of showing your support for the channel. We really do appreciate it, as you get a little fun sticker next to your name. Everybody knows how important you are as well. Whilst you guys are also there, go check out our channel sponsor and partner, BITDEFENDER, for all your cybersecurity needs and award-winning cybersecurity. Be sure to go check out the link in the description to go and get a little bit of a discount for BITDEFENDER cybersecurity. Incredible. We do use it, and it is fantastic to have. And if you're using VPNs to watch Formula One, as you can also follow our instructions in the description. Some people asking as well how they can. If you guys look in the description of the video, you can find a way to watch Formula One for free and completely legally. So go and check that out in the description. And you can then also find a way of watching Formula One. And use Bitdefender to do that so that you guys are protected when using a VPN to do that as well. Race Control has noted an estimated time of pit exit being opened at 13:55 local time, which will be in just about 8 minutes, although it will be to be confirmed because rain is about to hit the track, and if the rain is heavy, and the hail starts to drop, then of course they'll close the pit exit as well. So again, we've got 42-ish minutes left of the session still. So technically got a little bit of time still to try and get drivers out there. We'll lose 8 minutes of that. So we'll have at max 35 minutes of cars out on track, though I don't think we'll see many cars getting out onto the track as well. Gary in the comments saying, at this stage, it's obvious that Ocon and Sargent and possibly Kevin Magnussen will not have seats next season. Well, we know for a fact Ocon will not. That is the news I wanted to get to next. Esteban Ocon will no longer be racing in F1 from next season, or at least will not be racing for Alpine next season at a minimum. And all of that pretty much spiraled from the Monaco Grand Prix. And at the time, the Alpine team boss said to everybody, says there are serious ramifications for what happened today. It is not on. It's absolutely terrible. And he's followed in his word, because the first session this weekend, Ocon out of that seat, Jack Doohan into that seat. They said, Ocon, get out of that seat. We don't want you there. You know, you're only going to have 2 practice sessions this weekend. We're not going to back you for all 3. That was the one thing they said. The other thing they said, of course, is the fact that, he's supposedly not going to be part of that team anymore from next season. He's leaving Alpine, supposedly. So, Ocon is going to be out. So, lots of things happening behind the scenes, obviously, and they've backed Pierre Gasly, the other French driver, of course, rather than Esteban Ocon. So, who moves into that seat at Alpine now is the next question in place of Ocon. It's going to be an interesting one to see what happens there. Also, Kevin Magnussen causing a lot of crashes, causing a lot of damage to Haas, and also not driving particularly well this season. One imagines his seat is under threat as well. So who's going to get into that seat as well? And as we said, Logan Sargent possibly getting axed from his team. He's actually the most likely to be the next one announced, because it seems Carlos Sainz will be taking his seat. That's the big rumor. And speaking of rumors, Lindiwe's got a rumor saying, rumor on the web says that Perez was signed to pacify Verstappen so that Verstappen remains. Plus, in the past, Sainz and Verstappen fathers had a tenuous relationship. Tried Horner's as team managing the garage. So, what I imagine is that they're saying to keep Verstappen happy, they're going to keep Perez there because Perez doesn't really get in the way. It doesn't cause issues. However, realistically, if a team wants to compete well, you don't do that. You get 2 brilliant drivers, and if they fight, they fight. You know, Rosberg and Hamilton, yes, you can say it was a tumultuous relationship, but they won everything together at Mercedes. So, realistically, if you can manage a team half decently, you want 2 drivers who want to win. That's what you want. It's always what you want. I will go back slowly just to JSOTech, just to read his comment quickly. So it says, hope to see McLaren on the podium and Williams in the points. That's my hope anyway. So clearly a little bit of a Williams sympathetic, sympathizer, well, sympathetic person I was going to say, but sympathizer there. And Cora saying, silly season all year this year. Pretty much, yeah. We've got lots of things changing at the moment, and I think it'll change lots in the next couple of months, of course, as we head towards August, which is usually traditionally the silly season. Chennai is also here saying, hi, I'm from Chennai, India. Great to see you. Old Man Vu joining us as per usual, saying, hello, wonderful F1 fans. It must be quite late where you are, / maybe early in Australia there. So great to see you in the comments there. Julia saying, it's really hard to support Sauber at this point. Like, I really want them to do well, but supporting them causes me more depression than supporting Ferrari. Well, Kick Sauber has been arguably the most garbage team in F1 history. They have really, really done terribly throughout everything. We talk about the car, we talk about the drivers, we talk about the pit crew, we talk about the engineers. It's just been shocking through the season for them. Yanni saying, I hate the 2026 regulations. Well, that's what I also want to get into next. That's my next big thing, and I really do want to chat about this. As apparently the pit lane is going to be open, I think track clear. I think the pit lane is technically open, so we might get cars out on track, and there are some drivers putting on some gear, so we might actually get a little bit of running, so we can talk about that. But as we get into that, the initial thing, yeah, green flag is shown at the pit exit, so we can get out onto track, ladies and gentlemen. Can get out onto track, which is great to see. just going through it. Yeah, the 2026 regulations have just been announced, and I wanted to get going into that sort of conversation as well. So with regards to those regulations, let's go and talk about it. The main difference, of course, is the DRS is being taken away. And basically, it's so let's just read through F1's thing rather than me trying to explain it in simple terms. Let's go through the actual list of what's happening. So the governing body, the FIA, has unveiled the agile, competitive, safer, and more sustainable set of regulations that will define the sport from 2026 and beyond. So the revised aerodynamic regulations will work in tandem with new power unit rules, which include increased battery power and the use of 100% sustainable fuels. And that's also a very interesting one, that Formula One will be sustainable in terms of the fuel they use, which is great to see as well. Just an advocate for sustainable fuels in our future. As we do see a Mercedes car of Lewis Hamilton exiting the pits on full wets, or rather intermediate tires, as he gets out on the track. So great to see that we're going to have a little bit of movement in the pit lane, and the Mercedes is making its way out onto track. Again, talking about what he does on track is pointless because it's wet conditions. He's going to be going around making sure the car doesn't do anything. But at least the crowd give a nice little cheer there as they see a car out on track, which is what they paid all their millions for. So going back to these regulations that we talked about, from 2026 onwards, Formula One will have more agile cars, which will be 30 kilograms lighter and thus better able to battle on track. Of course, lighter cars means they could follow a little bit better, so we could have better battles. Again, a redesigned power unit feature, increasing battery power, and an even split between internal combustion engine and electric power, plus the use of 100% sustainable fuels. Active aerodynamics in the form of movable front and rear wings to allow for closer racing. So what this means is they're getting rid of DRS, but what they're actually going to do now is that the front wing and the rear wing will move to allow you to follow a car in front of you closer, and essentially, rather than using DRS, which is what everyone's called as a cheating way of getting past, you use your wings and you have to race using your wings essentially to try and get past the car in front of you, because you'll be able to follow a lot better and closer. And so you can do that to get past, and it should allow for better battling, let alone better racing, so that you'll have overtakes happen naturally, a little bit more naturally, rather than cheating wise with DRS. That's the concept of it. Yeah, so part of that also includes increased overtaking opportunities through the introduction of a new system rather than DRS that gives drivers a short burst of additional battery power within 1 second of the car in front. That is anywhere in the track, supposedly. There's no DRS zones, it's anywhere. So long as you're within 1 second of the car in front, you'll get a little bit of an increased additional battery power for a short time. So you have to choose when you want to use it. And you'll get a little bit of a increase in battery power that'll get you that extra boost to try and make a dive into somewhere and people can defend. So it should make it interesting. Improved safety through stronger structures and even tougher tests, that's normal, and commitment from a record number of 6 power unit manufacturers. So we'll have 6 different power unit manufacturers inside Formula One. So that's all that's going to be happening. And yeah, let's see what everybody talks about. Let's see what everybody thinks about those regulations as we go to the comments here. Yeah, so Julia says it means that we will see more wheel-to-wheel racing instead of people relying on DRS and an easy overtake. Exactly that. We'll see more alongside rather than simple overtake and move on, which is quite good to see. So long as that you can actually get close to cars quite easily. That's always the big thing with DRS, is that the idea was to get you closer to the car and then be able to use it to overtake. But will we be able to actually follow cars closely? That's the great question. Because if you can, rather than just having someone sit behind someone the whole time, you can actually pounce. You can make an overtake. And with the fact that the cars are smaller, it makes tracks like Monaco, other places where it's really difficult to overtake, it should make that a lot more entertaining. And the fact that if you do have the short burst of energy that gets given to you just being within 1 second, regardless of the track, like Monaco, out of the tunnel section, you could actually see people try and overtake in Monaco and hopefully follow quite close. And because the cars are smaller, you could maybe try and make an overtake where previously you couldn't. They're not that much smaller, but just 10 mils and 20 centimeters shorter and 10 millimeters narrower makes a huge difference. It does make a big difference. So hopefully we do see those sort of changes make a difference, and we do see some better racing in 2026 and beyond. Personally, I'm excited. I think it's going to be quite good. I think it will be quite fun, and I think it should be quite a good impact. I think getting rid of DRS is a good thing, provided we do have racing that's close and that those cars right at the top of the grid, those constructors right at the top of the grid, don't completely take it away from everybody else in terms of, what we saw previously with Mercedes and otherwise. Bob saying DRS gave a strategic advantage to first position that were losing their position. For example, Sergio in Abu Dhabi showed Lewis, slowed Lewis down, got behind Lewis to get DRS and just stayed with him. True. Lindiwe also said, I'm still trying to get my head around the 2026 regulations, trying to convert theory to reality. I will probably need to see a couple of races to truly understand the impact. TC saying it's good to have changes as they want to prevent teams from dominating for too long. Bottas's radio also saying on the sides, yeah, I think we can do intermediate tires, should be okay. So we could see a little bit more proper data coming in. So intermediate tires is when I start to get a little bit more interested in what's happening out on track, because when you're on full wets, it's pointless. We don't really get too much data. So cars that have gone out on the track: Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas, Lando Norris, Zhou Guanyu, Hulkenberg, and Magnussen. Everybody else is still in the pits at the moment. Going back to those regulations, chat. Chorus saying that's basically it. They put domestically agricultural waste through a chemical process that thus makes it carbon neutral and sustainable. That's, of course, talking about the sustainable fuels. Pure Blood saying the worst bit of rules is the bigger electrical side for the engine. Bring back the V8, V10, V12 and use sustainable fuels. Well, I think the idea is not for the electrical engine part to have an impact in terms of the sound and the performance of the car so much as that's to allow for better racing. Yes, I would love to see the bigger engines come back, the V8, the V10, V12, whatever, those engines, awesome. On sustainable fuels, even better. Trust me, I agree with you on this point. But the emphasis on more electronical things, and electric rather, not electronic, electric things happening is not such a bad thing personally. That's to try and help the racing aspect of it. It's not so much the sound and the performance of the car, that's just the racing aspect so that people can follow a lot closer. And hopefully that does happen, which means that we should have some very entertaining racing from 2026 and beyond. Bob saying, I don't understand why they would remove the MGUH. TC saying, maybe I can sell my used cooking oil to Williams. And that's, of course, for sustainable fuels. Quite a fun concept. Jason Takeo saying, I'm excited for the 2026 Monaco race to see exactly that, to see how much of a difference the new regulations will make at that circuit. I think it will be very interesting. Cora saying, the other cool thing about the fuel is that it's drop-in, meaning normal cars can use it as it is meant to work with normal gas pumps. James saying, Inter's time. Indeed, it is Inter's time, as we're watching a replay of Valtteri Bottas come into his pit. They're doing a pit practice for Kick Sauber, which was once again slow. I mean, they're even having problems in practice. I mean, they tried to change it to do a proper practice just to see what it is, and they had issues on the back left rear tire, and they really rushed to try and get a different one out there. It was such a slow pit stop for him. So even in practice, Stake Sauber are garbage. It's terrible. I didn't think a car could do that, as we also see a replay of Lewis Hamilton have a big spin up there as well. Yanni just saying, the only good thing about 2026 is the smaller cars, but I think they should be smaller still. The rest is very meh. I don't think so. I think it could be quite cool. Nonetheless, we're all excited for these seasons. F1 will never be fully electric, I don't believe. GC to answer that, saying once F1 is fully electric, I don't believe it ever will be. I think if sustainable fuels are a thing, there's enough of a metal head and gas head crowd in the world to warrant F1 still having internal combustion engine. I think you will still see that happening in the future. We have Formula E for the electric side of things. I don't think that will change. I think for a long time at least, we'll still have combustion engines happening in F1. I don't think that's going to be leaving anytime soon. Jason Tech making quite a funny comment there, saying, been wanting to get into F1 as an engineer. Maybe I should join Kick Sauber. Clearly, they're not that fussed about who they take. I think that is very, very much the case sometimes when you look at Kick Sauber. I don't know what happens in that team, but certainly not much good. Yes, got a lot of people out on track. Oscar Piastri in Sector 2 putting a 57.3 as it comes around the hairpin here. So, yeah, the cars are going around. It's still quite wet, lots of big puddles and lots of big spray being pushed up from the cars around the track. So I don't think you're going to see too much changes around. But looking at the grid right now, Hamilton top, Bottas second, and Lando Norris in third. Those times mean next to nothing. Drivers are still yet to make their way out to the track. Daniel Ricciardo, Pierre Gasly, Perez, Alonso, Leclerc, Stroll, Tsunoda, and Sainz. Luckily, though, we do have Jack Doohan, who has gone around at least a little bit on this track. He's gone around in this F1 car. And he's, of course, in place of Esteban Ocon for the session, just to have a little bit of a race around. Great to see him out there. But now we do have Max Verstappen out on track, so good to see him going around. Pureblood saying, they say that 2026 cars will be slower than F2 cars because of the electrical side is the reason that active aero is needed to get efficiency on straights to allow similar top speeds as we get now. So yeah, that's the whole concept of the active aero, is that it's going to try and get the speeds back up to what it should be. I'm hoping it won't be as slow as that. I'm hoping that people will make an effort in the engine department to really get the most out of it. I don't think it'll slow down by that much, but you know what? As long as close racing is happening and we do get some quick speed still, like even if it's a second slower than the current cars, whatever, just so long as we get good racing and it's still quite quick, as we do have a yellow flag at sector 1 and 2, it's for Zhou Guanyu. He's pulling off to the side of the road here. You've got an issue for Zhou Guanyu. Oh, I think he's gone into a wall because his one tire is facing inwards. His front left is facing to the right, where everything else, his right tire is facing to the left. And we do have a yellow flag, and I think this could be a red flag. Indeed, it's a red flag. Zhou's saying he's okay, so clearly he's clipped a wall out of nowhere when everybody's going around relatively casually on these intermediate tires. Zhou Guanyu has managed to hit a wall here in practice 1. 27 minutes remaining off the practice. A red flag is now being shown, so we waited 20 minutes, 25 minutes to get racing here in Canada, and we now have a red flag with just 27 minutes left to go. So we didn't even have that much sort of time out there. Red flag immediately waved on the session. Zhou Guanyu has clipped the wall somewhere. Want to see how that happens. As James says, useless, absolutely useless, ruining our somewhat entertaining session that we were having. And just going back to the conversation we keep having about Kickstarter being one of the worst teams I've ever seen in Formula One, and once again, just proving my point, we've gone into a wall in practice where everybody's basically going around as a parading laps, not really putting a proper data in. And he's managed to clip a wall, the Zhou Guanyu. And I wonder if he'll still have a seat next season. That's going to be an interesting one, because he has now started doing this recently quite badly, and he's really struggling in that Kickstarter. It doesn't help the car is crap, but yeah, he's really struggling. Yeah, he rides the curb a bit too much, does Zhou Guanyu, and into, oh my word, just really, it's a little bit of a drift there coming out of the last turn there onto the main straight. That's not where he had his accident, though. So I want to see what happens. Where does he get this little accident? Okay, it seems to be in sector 1. Oh, he just has a little bit of a snap there as he comes to the windy section, and then just, yeah, his rear tires just lose it. He spins out as he grabs the curb there, and yeah, he just unfortunately loses it. His back left tire slams into the wall, loses his entire tire completely, big puncture, and the front left tire as well. It's quite damaged, and he can't really turn the car. So unfortunately for him, he is out of the session. Those 2 tires there. But again, he didn't need to do that. He risked it quite badly going into that sector there. Didn't need to do that. And unfortunately, now we have a red flag in the session. They're going to have to recover the car. Luckily, the car's quite close to the recovery section. But they do have to take a little bit of the debris off, and the wall is slightly damaged. They're just going to have to go and assess that as well. So red flag on the session. Oh dear. As TC says, gee, Zhou giving us another red flag. Jason Tech saying, yeah, I think I'll join Sauber. I think they need some mechanics. Bob saying, Sauber doesn't need mechanics. It needs passion and mechanics. Julia saying, I'll go cry now. Seriously, more dressing depression coming my way. Indeed, trying to support Kick Sauber is an interesting one, because it just doesn't work. Well, this is a very underwhelming practice. Unfortunately, right before the practice, I thought it would be, because lots of rain, huge storms, which meant that we were always going to have a delay in terms of cars getting out there. And then a red flag as a result of an accident now from Zhou Guanyu's just put another dampener, literally, on the session, as well as he's getting wheeled off, or his car at least is getting wheeled off the track. They'll luckily recover quite quickly, but after a red flag, they always have to say when they're going to give green flag conditions again. They have to make that announcement, with enough time. So we're going to have to wait a little while to get going here. So yeah, we continue on, and unfortunately, we're going to have to wait for the session to resume properly again. So guys, let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Be sure to drop them. We've got more than 340 of you watching, 350 in fact of you watching. Great to have you all here. Please be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We have grown past 6,050 subscribers. Great to see that. And thank you so much for joining and subscribing to the channel for that. Consider joining and becoming a member as well of the channel. As you see, become a member little thing being pinned on the chat. Be sure to go check that out if you want to. All of our regulars, be sure to go and check that out. Then you guys can really be part of a fun little community. It'd be great to have you guys do that. I really would appreciate the support. But otherwise, just having you guys in the video and chatting alongside me is enough. But yeah, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video if you guys haven't done so already, and check out our channel sponsor BITDEFENDER in the comments section as well. Watching a replay again of Joe Guanyu coming into that section in sector 1. Just goes over the curve a little bit too much as he exits it. He tries to apply the power a little bit too quickly, I think, was the problem as he comes into that turn there. And then as a result, just spins the wheels too much. Suddenly gets a leap forward of power. The car spins slightly to the left, slams into the wall. Now, the standing water just gets underneath the tires, so the tires just spin over, and then suddenly they grab grip, and then it throws the car out, and yeah, into the wall he goes. Is there going to be more rain all weekend? Apparently, there should be more rain coming this weekend. As we do see sunshine in the distance there, but there will be quite a bit of rain this weekend, they reckon, as well. It's going to be quite a rainy weekend here in Montreal, Canada. Though right now, it looks quite clear. But the weekend forecast, as we talk about it, it's Friday, partly cloudy for the next session. Rain in the PM section. Saturday, rain. Sunday, rain. So raining every day. So we're going to have a wet race. So intermediate tires and wet tires are certainly going to be used this weekend at some point, as they already have done so. So do not expect dry conditions for many sessions this weekend. We're going to have quite a bit of rain. Bob saying, I think supporting backbench teams are more fun because you see the team compete for points and eventually wins. But supporting a winning team is only fun if there is a title fight. Well, right now we do have a big title fight. McLaren, Ferrari, and Red Bull all fighting it out properly in the Constructors' Championship. Great to see. We haven't seen this in quite a few years. Mercedes also trying to knock on the door, but they're not really doing so anywhere near yet. And I think they're a bit too far back already to try and challenge from near the top there. But they reckon they could get onto a podium this weekend. And if they can, then that's a big statement, and maybe we will see them start to get a few points before the end of the season. Again, it's going to become very interesting as we get halfway through the season. I think we should have an interesting end to the season as well. And for once, I don't think we're going to have a driver champion announced so far away from the end of the season. I think it might even come down to the last race. So that will be very interesting to see, and I want to see what happens this season. It will be great to see, as we do see one of the McLarens that got quite wide. I think it's Oscar Piastri. Or is it Oscar Piastri possibly? I think it is. Went quite wide at the hairpin, of course. TC saying, I wonder if Adrian Newey thinks he has the answer to perfect the 2026 car. Well, it's where he'll be for that 2026 car, of course. He's leaving Red Bull. Will Ferrari snap him up? That's obviously the big talk. And he's always said that he wants to work for Ferrari. He's always said he's dreamt of working for Ferrari. So one imagines this might be the dream come true. That he'll go to Ferrari with Lewis Hamilton and get that car going for 2026 and really make that Ferrari team a hell of a team. Jason texting, yeah, I'm a McLaren and Williams fan. To be honest, Monaco, I was really happy to see Williams get their first points. It was good to see as well. Bob saying, my school has books by Adrian Newey. I read them all the time. He's definitely going to innovate. I was about to say, you innovate your 2026 car. Max, Lewis, and Alonso will do well in a wet race. As per usual, it's always those very experienced drivers do well, but I think Alonso's going to struggle a little bit because those Aston Martins have been so slow this season. It's so depressing to see. Max Verstappen, though, on the intermediate tyres out on the track, as I said, the red flag has been taken away. We are back racing. We are back with some cars out on track. So we are back to track conditions. Max Verstappen's going around. Let's see what sector time he puts in. Valtteri Bottas currently out quickest job in the intermediate tyre, 27.9. Max Verstappen approaches that sector one time, is 1.7 seconds quicker than Valtteri Bottas. Clearly the track is clearing up a little bit, and we are getting some better laps getting put in by all of the drivers. So Max Verstappen now approaching the end of Sector 2. Let's see what sort of time he puts in. Those purple sectors been taken away, by the way, at Sector 1, so that's interesting. Sector 1's been taken away. Sector 2, though, he has now made purple. It's 2.4 seconds quicker than Valtteri Bottas, as it is. Again, these times don't mean much right now. The track needs to clear up a little bit, so it doesn't really mean much. Nobody's racing in similar conditions. As Lewis Hamilton's following Max Verstappen around, he's got 2 purple sectors now behind his name, so he's going quicker than the Red Bull currently on those intermediate tyres. We have no idea what sort of simulation they're running. We have no idea what sort of attempt they're doing here. Is it a as Max Verstappen goes straight back into the pits. So he doesn't really care too much about his lap. He was just going around to see what it's like. Lewis Hamilton, let's see what he does. Does he go into the pits or does he finish up his lap? He's going to finish his lap. So he is actually going to go around those final 2 corners as he goes. Oh, my word. A little bit of a glitch, almost going into what is known as, I think it's Champions Wall or Champions Corner. I can't remember what it is. Please remind me in the comment section. But the wall right at the end of the track, right before the start finish straight as you come off the last turn. So many drivers champions have gone into that wall and ended their races in the past. So I want to see if that does happen. As Jack Doohan seems to be getting ready to get back into the car in Alpine, as of course he is taking part in this session instead of Esteban Ocon. "18 minutes remaining of this session." Oh, the Wall of Champions. That's what it's called. The Wall of Champions. Thank you, TC and Cora. The Wall of Champions. It is exactly that. And funny enough, I know this is going to sound weird. I actually just remembered it right before you guys said it. And then I suddenly looked at the comments and you guys suddenly make them at the same time just to confirm that it was that. I said, is this Wall of Champions? It is. Yeah, the Wall of Champions is what it was. Reese would hit me for that, of course. His F1 knowledge is ridiculous. And he would have smacked me about for that, for forgetting such an obvious thing, it would be according to him. But I did eventually remember, luckily. It is the Wall of Champions. As Charles Leclerc now is going around on his intermediate tyres. Hamilton put in the quickest time so far, 1:29.2. But Charles Leclerc currently going around his Ferrari. He's got 2 purple sectors as well. First sector and second sector. Purple right now. He's following Hamilton's time. Let's see how he fares as well. And he goes around the final couple of corners, really rides those curves quite well. Handles the car quite well into that start-finish straight, follows the dry lines that have been set by all the other cars around. As he crosses the finish line, a 1:27.5, 1.5 seconds quicker than his teammate Carlos Sainz, who went quicker just before him as well, finishing up their laps. The Ferraris now sit 1-2, Hamilton in third. The V-carb car of Yuki Tsunoda currently sits in fourth. George Russell, let's not get my words muddled up, in fifth position. Gasly in sixth. Perez now in seventh as he finishes up his lap. Ferrari are the most successful constructor in Montreal with 11 wins and tied with McLaren and Williams for the most pole positions. So McLaren and Ferrari fighting for pole positions here this weekend in terms of seeing who's going to get that record over the line. And let's see if Ferrari can extend that winning number that they've had. 11 wins, could make it 12 this weekend. Watching Charles Leclerc's replay, just a couple of jerks around here and a couple of twitches just to make sure that he doesn't go into the wall at any point. Going to the comments here, we've got Yanni here saying, I would love to see Newey at 1 Williams or 2 Aston Martin. Wouldn't that be interesting to see one of the smaller teams get Edge and Newey into, really get them up into the field? Williams would be quite special, I think. That would be quite fun. TC saying, oh yeah, they are terrible with strategy. Old man rude, that's of course the conversation there. There's the other flag, but it's been cleared already on the track. Bob saying, old man rude, you can't fix the race strategy crew, but he can fix everything else. Peter's here saying in the comments, exciting weekend. Indeed, an exciting weekend ahead, of course, a 3-way battle, hopefully, maybe even 4 for the title here in Montreal. I think it's going to be the most interesting weekend for a long, long time. So I do fully agree, Peter, an exciting weekend ahead. Luz Maria Arango, I have no idea. Red Bull, that's what we've said. Red Bull. Bob saying it's weird they just put Canada in a European Canada time, don't you think? And they always do this. Every year they've done this. Canada randomly arrives after Monaco or after a European race of some sort. And we finally have the home driver, Lance Stroll, making his way out of the pit lane and going out onto the track. Great to see that home driver and Aston Martin driver making his way out. As Alonso is also making his way out. He's on an out lap right now, getting him out of the way of one of the Ferraris on a fast lap there. So let's see how the Aston Martins can fare this weekend. I don't think they're going to do particularly well, personally. But let's see if they can try and improve, and let's see if they have improved. And the crowd do get their hands up and wave as they see the Aston Martin make their way around. Of course, everybody is very tough to see Fernando Alonso go around. Everybody's second favorite driver, unless it's their favorite driver. As it always has been, and personally for me, he is my favorite driver on the track right now, I'd say, probably. Favorite driver, or maybe Oscar Piastri. I think Oscar Piastri must be right up there as my favorite driver as well. I think he's going to be a hell of a good driver. I think he's going to have a hell of a career. Driver champion in the making. and I cannot wait for him to win his first race. He was so close to doing so, of course, in Monaco, but of course, Monaco being Monaco, could not get past Charles Leclerc and then eventually lost after time. But I think he could have done it. Signs on the radio saying, do we expect rain for FP2? Saying, yes, we do, says the team. Okay, box now then, he says. Of course, trying to maybe keep these inters for the next session as well, basically not wanting to do too much more on these inters because I think he knows there'll be some more wet weather later. Bob's saying it's weird that. Oh, sorry, you already said that. What am I doing? Devashish Tuck saying, how do I watch live? Fan code isn't working for me. Well, I do apologize. You should be able to make it work. I think it's because you've got to use the VPN link. If the VPN link is not quite working, let me know and I'll tell our producer and we will get that fixed for you. Will saying, what are the weather conditions? Right now, it's actually sunny, and the track is relatively dry. Well, it's starting to dry up, at least. Everybody's still on the intermediate tires, but there's definitely a dry line that's being formed. It's just a couple of places with a little bit of wet track, which means that the intermediate tire is probably more worth it. The problem is you can just see the intermediate tire struggles a little bit because it needs to actually cool down from the water as it goes around. And quite a dry line right now means that you probably will start to slow down a little bit. As Bottas is going around the final couple of corners. He's got a purple sector in sector 2 for Kickstarter, which is good to see for him. Can he go quicker than Carlos Sainz's 127.48? He goes across the line, no, only third fastest for him. So just slightly slower than the two Ferraris, but quicker than Perez and the V-Carbs. So I don't think we'll have too many cars on the intermediate tire for the rest of the session. Problem is it dry enough for the hard or medium tire? Even the soft tire, I'm not sure it will be. But I think it's too dry now for the intermediate tire for everybody. So will they risk 12 minutes going out to a dry tire? Sorry, I'm hiccuping a little bit there. Will they go on to a dry tire for the remaining of the session, or will they just remain in the pits? Alex Albon's in the pits there. He's in his car. He's not getting out. He seems to be getting ready to go out soon. What tire does he come out on? Luffy boy saying predictions, please. What are we predicting? What are we predicting? That's the great question. Let's assume should we predict pole for qualifying? Should we predict the race itself? Let's predict qualifying. We've got absolutely no information to go on and no idea how to predict qualifying. But based off of absolutely zero knowledge, let's give a prediction on qualifying. I'm going to predict Charles Leclerc in third, Max Verstappen in second, and Lando Norris in first. That's my prediction I'm going to give for and without any information. I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. Oscar Piastri could finish up there. Put it this way, the only prediction I can be certain of is I do think we'll have it really, really close between the Red Bulls, the McLarens, and the Ferraris. I think Mercedes will be there and thereabouts, but I don't think it'll be as quick as the other three. I think they'll be quite close to it. I don't think they'll be as quick unless they pull something out of the fire. But I think the top three constructors right now will be right at the top there. I think they'll all be battling it out. And it literally is anybody's game to win there in terms of who gets pole, because I think it will be that close this weekend. We are looking at Jack Doohan, of course, the Australian driver, who's come in for session 1 here for Alpine in place of Esteban Ocon. Esteban Ocon getting quite a bit of a slap on the wrist in this last week, unfortunately for him. Seems like his Formula 1 career might be coming to an end, unless anybody else wants to pick him up, because Alpine certainly don't seem to want to continue with him. So, Esteban Ocon out of the seat for this practice session, at least Jack Doohan in it. What has he done so far? Well, unfortunately for him, he's down at 16th in that Alpine, and he's had a terrible session to come in. It's been affected by rain and puddles and all these other things, and red flag, and not a great session for him to go around and try and show his worth and strut his stuff. So unfortunately for him, been disappointing. Chennai asking, do we expect rain during the race? Apparently it will be wet in the day. Whether or not it actually rains is a question. Lando Norris seems to have fallen asleep in his McLaren. He is very comfortable inside that car, clearly, and he seems to have fallen asleep. TC saying, based on no knowledge, Max will take pole, Piastri will second, and Lewis third. Exactly the same thing as me. Based on absolutely no cooking clue, we could just put random names there and assume. Bob saying, out of my own will, I will predict Charles Leclerc first, Lando Norris in second, and Max Verstappen in third. Old man Roo saying Piastri first, Ricciardo second, and Doohan third. Not that I have any bias, clearly not. And also Doohan somehow coming in to replace Ocon in qualifying is also quite an interesting little prediction there. Ocon clearly going to have something go wrong with him, and he's going to have to race is Jack Doohan. So yeah, certainly a wild prediction, of course. I know the joke that you're making there. Very passionate Aussie. Good to see you supporting your home drivers. I would love to see a South African driver in Formula One, just so I could sort of have that connection as all these other drivers, all these other countries do to, something like that. We used to have a South African driver a long time ago in F1, and it was great to have them going around. I actually went to school with some really good drivers who are on part of the World Endurance Championship teams. And you see their names quite often. They're quite famous. If you're a dedicated race driver, you'll know their names. Quite a famous racing family, in fact, in the smaller divisions. The World Endurance Championships, the Audi Cups, the Audi circuits, those sort of things. That's the van der Linde family. I did actually go to school with them. One of them was in my grade. I went to school with them, and yeah, I think there was at one stage it was looking like maybe the older one, Calvin, could have made his way into the Formula Series. It wouldn't have been anywhere near Formula One, I don't think, but he almost made it into the Formula Series, I think. He was in the Formula E car when they were in Cape Town. He did race in Formula E. I will say that much, which was very cool. But that's the closest I know to racing royalty out of South Africa, at least. That would have been quite fun. So I do envy your ability to have drivers that are from your home nation, that you can support in Formula One. Cora saying, I've been summoned for dinner. See you guys later. Great commentary and company as usual. Thanks so much for joining us, Cora. Great to see you. Cheerio. TC says, enjoy. Lindere saying, Ocon's driver CV has the words not a team player, which makes it a bit tricky for him and his team to sell him to other teams. Exactly that. Yanni here saying, Verstappen, Piastri, and Leclerc will be the qualifying results there. Julia saying Leclerc P1, Norris P2, Piastri P3. So going for a little bit of a McLaren dominance there in the top three. Navy saying, what are the chances Leclerc wins 2 Grand Prix in a row? Quite high, actually, this weekend. I think Ferrari are coming into this quite confident. I think they reckon they've got a really good car for Canada. So I think they're quite silently backing themselves, and they're not even that quietly, they're publicly backing themselves to do quite well this weekend. So hopefully do something. Laz Maria Angarango saying Luis Guillermo Arango versus Edith Red Bull. I have no idea what you're talking about. I must be honest. I do apologize. Strix 1992. Rookie in P3. Let's go. Or Pookie? I don't know. Or Piastri. What that means. Chennai saying fingers crossed for Perez. He will be relieved from the contract pressure. Yes, hopefully that makes the difference. Maybe that is what's happening. He's been so concerned about what happens with his contract that maybe now with a firm idea of his future, he'll perform a lot better this weekend. Julia Brom saying, watching the van der Lindes and DTM this weekend. Oh, fantastic. Great to see you watching them. I hope they do well. They have actually been doing quite well these past couple of years, so I'm very keen to see how they do as they go on. But yes, both of them went to my school, which is quite cool. And they were racing a lot whilst they were at school, and every single time you'd have assembly and they go and say, this weekend, the van der Lindes, or wherever they were racing around the world, and we congratulate them for this. Yeah, quite cool. So 6 minutes to go. We now have a Ferrari out on track on soft tires. Oh, this could be quite an exciting end to this session. This could be actually really cool. Charles Leclerc is going to go around on soft tires. Hopefully he doesn't spin out and crash. I'm hoping he can put in a really quick time and right at the end, and we can maybe get a little bit of an indicator as to the pace of the Ferrari on the soft tire. At least in these conditions, we know that they could probably find another 2 seconds if the track wasn't wet, so that he could risk a little bit more. But I think we should get a good indication here from Charles Leclerc as to what we could expect on the soft tire. And there's a few cars also following him out. His teammate Sainz is also going out there. There's a blue car, which I assume is either a Red Bull or a Williams. There's also a McLaren that's made its way out the track. So very keen to see what they can do. Navy saying, but Ferrari is definitely improving. Chennai talking about, what about Magnussen's race ban? Has it been served? He's not got a race ban yet. He needs 1 more point, 1 more deduction point, then he will get that race ban. 1 more penalty point against his name, and he'll be getting a race ban. So Lando Norris is the one McLaren that is out on track, also on the soft tire. He's being followed by a Red Bull. I cannot make out who that is. Is that Max Verstappen? I think that is Max Verstappen. Indeed it is. Max Verstappen's out on track, also following Lando Norris very closely. I think he's getting a little bit irritated with the pace of Lando Norris ahead of him. Will he attempt to make a little bit of an overtake before the start of the lap? He's also got the green high-vis paint on the back of his car there just to try and track the aerial movement as he finishes up this lap. So 4 minutes left of this track, of the session rather. Perez is also now doing an outlap for himself. We're not seeing much movement from everybody else. The two Mercedes, though, have made their way out of the pits as well. So let's see what we could expect from them as well. Bob saying, my mind is telling me to sleep. My body is numb. I'm going to have to head out for today. See you guys tomorrow. Amazing commentary. Well, thank you so much, Bob, for joining us. Pity that you're missing the last 4 minutes. We're going to see some interesting things, but nonetheless, great to see you. Vutuja saying, do you think Ricardo will be able to get a comeback? Well, if Ricardo can do half decently this season, I think he should be able to find himself in that seat for quite a while. And then maybe he could improve this weekend. I'm hoping to see him do well. I quite like old Daniel Ricciardo. I enjoy him as a driver. I enjoy him as a personality, of course. So it seems the soft tyre is clearly not the fast tyre here. Charles Leclerc has slowed down significantly on the soft tyre. I think it's a little bit too early for the soft tyre. Yeah, the pace. Oh, as we see, Lando Norris also struggle a little bit with a wet section there. He's also gone slower in sector 1, as has Charles Leclerc. So we're not going to see any quicker times for the end of this session. It's too dry for the intermediate tyres. It's too wet for the soft tyres. Realistically, the medium to hard tyre would probably be the best one. Max Verstappen just practicing his following, basically, behind Lando Norris here. Just happy to stick behind him and go around. So, yeah, just getting a big tug, and now he pulls away from Lando Norris. He's decided to drop off as Lando Norris is 7 seconds behind his time, and he's also pulled out of his lap. And then they've realized it's not quite dry enough for these soft tyres. Maybe the Mercedes will do something. But I think, yeah, apart from anything else, we've pretty much seen all we will see from this session. Watching a replay of Charles Leclerc coming into, oh my word, the first turn, and just really struggles, my word. Just could not find any grip on those soft tyres. Just tries to go to the left, catches the curve slightly, the car just gets thrown completely into the grass. And basically, as you start your hot lap on the soft tyres, you basically enter it straight away. Yeah, so really not a great start for Charles Leclerc there, just showing that it's a little bit too wet still for these soft tyres. Oscar Piastri is going around the soft tyres. He's 3.6 seconds slower in sector 1 than Carlos Sainz's quickest time. But he's still going for it just to see what sort of data he can get from these soft tyres. But again, it's too wet for these soft tyres out on track. Even though it looks dry, it's actually too wet still. Too many wet patches that affect the soft tyres. And the intermediate tyres would never be able to last on this much dry track as well. So it's more of like a medium to hard tyre type of setting right now. 1 minute and 30 seconds remaining in P1 in Canada, Montreal. And out of Esteban Ocon's garage comes Jack Doohan for his last attempt of a lap around this track as the rookie driver gets a little chance to go out on the track in the Formula 1 car as Alpine's reserve driver and have a feel for the F1 circuit. He's only got 1 minute and 12 seconds to get around, so essentially they're basically getting him out there to do a practice start. He's not actually going around to go and do a practice lap because he's never going to be able to get around in time. But he'll, I'm sure, get up to speed right before the end of this. I'm sure he'll try to put some pace into the tyres, and he'll basically go around for a practice start at the end of this session. Lewis Hamilton, though, is on the push lap in his Mercedes, being held up a little bit by the Haas there. He has to, unfortunately, wait for him. He was so close to this Carlos Sainz's time, though, in Sector 1. So, interesting that. Yellow flag in Sector 2 is just slow driving. I don't think that's actually a problem that's being caused. Lewis Hamilton, though, getting slightly held up by a Haas driver there as he's doing a push lap on his soft tyres. He was literally almost bang on with Carlos Sainz's time, which is good to see, because the soft tyres found a little bit of pace somewhere. But you can just see in Sector 2 is where you lose a lot of that time. It's quite wet there. And now he goes past that Sector 2 marker, and again, he's 1.4 seconds down to Carlos Sainz's time. It's a little bit closer than everybody else has been, but again, showing the soft tyre still a little bit slow compared to the intermediate tyre. Give it another 5 minutes and a few more laps. I reckon that'll probably be quite quick. Charles Leclerc, though, has managed to actually go fastest on a soft tyre. He's got a 125.3, which is 2.1 seconds quicker than Carlos Sainz behind him. Hamilton's also finishing up a lap for himself. Where will he finish as he goes over the final couple of curbs in Sector 3 as he comes now across the line? Will he put in a 125? He does put in a 125.97. So he goes second fastest as he finishes up his lap. Lando Norris also going to finish up, as is Max Verstappen, as they come into Sector 3. So Sector 1 and Sector 2 is dry enough. And Sector 1 and Sector 3 is dry enough. Sector 2 is where you lose time, unfortunately. Carlos Sainz could put the quickest lap of the day as he's going around quite quickly. A purple sector in sector 1, green in sector 2, and let's see what he does in sector 3 as Lando Norris goes across the line at 1:24.4, now the new quickest time of the session. Again, these times don't mean too much though because it's basically going with the times drying up. So as each car goes over the line, they should be a little bit quicker than the ones before them. As a few more cars go over the line, Alonso down to 14th. Verstappen finishes up only 4th at 1:26.5. And Carlos Sainz goes across the line slightly slower than Lando Norris, 1:24.7. Charles Leclerc, though, is still going around again. So he's actually having another 10. But my God, the traffic ahead of him, he's literally got like 6 or 7 cars all ahead of him trying to finish up their laps. Jack Doohan as well did not put in the time, unfortunately, this entire session, basically. Very, very disappointing for the rookie driver. As Charles Leclerc now is going down, following literally 4 other cars down the main straight as he tries to finish up his lap. Let's see if he can beat it. Will he go across the line? No, he gave up his lap before he got there. So that is your final board times, ladies and gentlemen. Lando Norris in first for P1 in that McLaren. Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc second and third in those Ferraris. Mercedes is Lewis Hamilton in fourth, and Max Verstappen's Red Bull in fifth. Oscar Piastri finishing up the top 6 there for McLaren. Gasly in seventh for Alpine. Sauber's Bottas in 8th, Perez in Red Bull in 9th, and Russell in 10th for the Mercedes. The V-Carbs in 11th and 12th, the Haas's 13th and 14th, Alonso in the Aston Martin 15th, the Williams of Sargent in 16th, Stroll in the other Aston Martin 17th, Zhou Guanyu in 18th, and the Kick Sauber, Jack Doohan without a time, Albon without a time at the back there. So that was FP1, as we did see Daniel Ricciardo really go off the track there and go into the grass. They just slipped into the grass there and really probably damaged my wood. Just see the amount of spray that he picks up from the grass there, see how much water's there. I mean, it's basically like a water park as he goes over there. Also was a big spin from Valtteri Bottas in this Kick Sauber as he goes into the grass section there before the end of that session there. So interesting to see a couple of almost big incidents there. Valtteri Bottas having a little bit of fun and a spin in his Formula 1 car. A nice little carousel ride, I'm sure. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining myself, Mark, of course, on Forever Motorsports. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video as well. And be sure to join us for FP2 later this evening. And yeah, this has been a great session here on Forever Motorsports. I will, of course, see you guys during the rest of the weekend for what should be the most entertaining Grand Prix in a long time. So certainly do not miss any sessions. It's all to race for here in Montreal. Thank you so much. Cheers.